Welcome to Louisiana Heart Beats. I'm Sudie Landry, and here we are again today. I have asked Ray Green to come back on the show. He's been on here several times, but today we're going to talk about a new organization that he's formed called the Encouragers. And in these times that we're experiencing now, every person is going through different things, and sometimes you need someone to talk to or maybe share your story, or maybe you've worn out the ear of a good friend or a neighbor. I know I've been there. But how about an organization where you can go and you can actually meet with other people who are like-minded? So Ray has organized something that might just interest you. And we're going to talk about that today. He's already had his first meeting. Welcome to our show again today. And Ray, give us everything you've got and why did you even organize this
Well,
meeting?
let me start off by saying bingo, first of all. I say bingo because, Sudie, all my life, I've heard people talk about every subject under the sun. And unfortunately, no matter what you talk about, no matter what food you talk about, no matter what movie star, no matter what book, no matter what anything, you very seldom find more people that agree with you than not. In other words, there ain't no way you're going to be able to please everybody. Let me give you an example. A couple of 100 years ago, I was a disc jockey for a radio station. On Saturday mornings, we had to answer our own telephone because the young ladies were off in the office. We had 20 lines on that telephone. Every other line, "Hey man, you ever going to play any music worth listening to?" Next call. "Boy, I sure do like that music you're playing. Keep it up." Next call. Every other one was for, every other one was against. The following week, we had a little meeting with all the announcers, and I just happened to mention, wouldn't it be great if we could play music that appealed to everybody? Perhaps the only thing that the producer at that time ever said that made any sense, he reached down in the bottom part of his desk drawer and pulled out the Holy Bible and laid it down. He says, "Ray, you know what that is?" I said, "Well, certainly." Did it ever dawn on you that even that man doesn't please everybody? Who are you to think that you're going to? Sudie, that was like a Chinese gong going off in my ears. I cannot please everybody. I couldn't even please my wife half the time. How can I be expected to please everybody else? But I do the very best I can. But I say bingo because finally, after all these years, I have a subject that I have never found one person that can look at me and disagree with me when I say every living human being in Lafayette, in the Lafayette Parish, in the state of Louisiana, and the nation. Every single person can benefit from a little encouragement, sincere encouragement now and then. The grandest work that a human being can do is to encourage our fellow man. The world needs encouragers, people, those who can arouse the hidden talents of the average man or woman, boy or girl, more so than it needs lawyers, physicians, politicians, or statesmen. Encouragers raise ourselves and others to our highest power. We must recognize the fact that there are more hearts hungering for love and encouragement than anything else in the world. The bottom line is this: the greatest unsatisfied hunger is the hunger for appreciation and love and encouragement. And we can give that appreciation through an abundance of sincere encouragement. How long has it been since you have encouraged anyone? Last Saturday we had a meeting, and we had some interesting people there. And one of the things that I talked about, excuse the handkerchief, I'm on some medication and it makes my nose drip. But one of the things we talked about was how important every single person is. There is nobody on the face of this earth that is not important. So we talked about one, you as an individual, and how important you are. About 3 hours after I got home, the phone rang. It was this lady in the audience, and she called me and she said, as she was sobbing, she says, "Mr. Green, I want you to know that you're the first person in my entire life that has ever told me that I am important, that I am somebody." Can you imagine how that made me feel? What an impact. And that's just coming from one meeting. And she says, "By the way, I want you to know I got a call from her this morning. And it's been since last Saturday we had the meeting." She said she was thinking about that. And she says, "I wonder why my husband has never told me that." But she said, come to think of it, I've never told him that. So when he came home that night, she says, we've got to have a little talk. She sat him down and she says, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you how important you are to me and the family and the kids. I know that I don't say anything like this, but I have this feeling inside me. I want you to know how much I appreciate what you do, and I want you to know that you are very, very important to me and the family. She called me this morning and she said, Ray, our marriage has turned upside down. It has improved 100% simply because I told him how important he was. You can't buy that, Sudie.
No.
That is worth $1 million to me. My son told me something one time. We often talk about success. Everybody wants to talk about success. My son, who is a minister in Natchez, Mississippi, told me once, and I'll never forget this, he said, Dad, if I can be the father to my 2 daughters that you have been to me, I will call myself a successful person. You have any idea how that made me feel? I carry a little wallet type thing with me, a couple of little statements that I have on it, and I'll share them with you. Talking about success, to know that one life has breathed easier because you have lived, that is to have succeeded. And you can make a difference, a positive difference, by encouraging somebody. The fathers and mothers that are listening right now to this program, how long has it been since you've encouraged your child in something? How long has it been since you have encouraged a relative? Every day I meet some people, seniors, that are depressed, feeling useless, downright bored to tears, unfulfilled, edgy, maybe frustrated, feeling and thinking that their life is mostly over and done with. Doctors will tell us, psychiatrists, that boredom and loneliness are the 2 biggest causes of frustration. Hey, hold the phone, that's where I come in. You might say I'm on a talent hunt, people. I'm looking for people who are needing to be encouraged, and that pertains to just about everybody. I want to send a message loud and clear that regardless of your age, your position, your profession, or situation, that you are still very, very important. It's been said that every man, woman, and child, and especially seniors, retirees, have infinite potential just waiting to be tapped. And that's my point. Each of us have a past, a background, a unique story to tell, a contribution to make, and right now, some of you have a book to write, like me. Finally, after years, I'm working on a book. Maybe you have a play to write, a picture to write, or something to paint, or maybe somebody in your family that you have become disassociated with. Maybe you need to sit down and write a letter. How long does that take? Let me give you a personal example of a little encouragement and what it can do to impact somebody's life. As I mentioned, I was a disc jockey for many years at a radio station. When I first got started, after about a year, there was a statewide radio contest, and fortunately I won. I got a plaque for attaining the largest listening audience in the history of Arkansas ratings. A friend of mine called me and said, Ray, I've got a friend that has written a song. I know you can't play it on the air because he doesn't even have it on record yet. But would you do me a favor and listen to this guy's song? It is a good song, and I think you'll like it. I just want to get your opinion. Sure, bring him up. I have a 15-minute news block at 8 o'clock, so bring him up at 8, and I'll listen to it. About 10 minutes later, I heard bump, 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 bump. I thought, what the heck is going on? They brought this young man in a wheelchair with a guitar in his lap. They introduced me to him. He says, I sure appreciate you listening to this song. I want your opinion because you're a top disc jockey and you should be able to give me a suggestion. I listened to that song and I was so impressed. I loved it. It had all the elements I thought to make a hit. I said, man, I'm promising you, I guarantee you, if somebody in the business listens to that song, it's going to be a hit. But you ain't going to get anywhere in Little Rock, Arkansas with it. You got to go somewhere like, well, maybe Nashville. If I were you, I'd go to Nashville, and I'd park my car in front of the Grand Ole Opry, and I'd sit there until somebody came out and listened to my darn song. And that was that. I didn't figure he'd do that. But about a month later, in the front page of the Arkansas Democrat, there was a story and a picture. This young man had gone to Nashville, parked his car in front of the Grand Ole Opry, and sat there, and the security came out and said, if you don't move this car, we're going to have you hauled off. He says, go ahead. How's it going to look in the paper when you have somebody in a wheelchair hauled off? He said, but you're blocking traffic. He says, tough. Go get somebody and come out and listen to my song and I'll move. The guy went inside and he says, doggone it, we got a problem. He went into that night, the featured attraction was Marty Robbins. He was just getting started in the business. Marty Robbins. He said, Marty, we got a problem. Would you go outside and listen to this guy's song? He's blocking traffic and he ain't going to move until somebody listens to that darn song. Marty says, okay, all right. He went outside. He listened to the song. He came back in that night, sang it on the Grand Ole Opry. To make a long story short, that song that year became the #1 song in the entire country music field and the #1 song in the popular music field. Guy Mitchell recorded it in the popular field, and Marty Robbins recorded it in the country music field. The young man was named Melvin Inslee. He's passed away now. But the last time I talked to him, he said, Ray, I would never have thought of that if you had not shared that thought with me, and I will forever be grateful to you. And I'm grateful for about $4 million that song has put in my pocket. I thought, uh-oh, where's my 10%? But you see what type of impact people you can have?
Mm-hmm. I want to take a minute and say a few things. First of all, Ray, as you were sharing this, you're just a great storyteller. But when you have a story that has a message in it, and especially when you have great results that are positive, and you're always emphasizing to make a positive difference, you have already done it and you want to continue. Now, with that said, it's true. Sometimes people have these deep things inside of them that they want to share. Maybe they're timid. Maybe they've been told they were never going to amount to anything. Or maybe they thought they were not as good as the next person or not as smart. But you know what? We all have gifts. But we have to have someone believe in us to encourage us. And that's what my grandmother always said too. Everybody needs somebody to believe in them. And so I see the new organization, The Encouragers, that you've organized. You've been talking about this for a while, but you've been busy doing other things.
Yeah.
But now you're kind of focusing in on just this, and you had a great turnout for a first time, considering that your marketing effect was just word of mouth, and I think you sent out a couple notices on Facebook. And I said that to say this, Ray, if you had that great of an attendance already, then only if everybody would want to make a difference in somebody's life, all you would have to do, there's that word again, make a positive difference in someone's life just by sharing this information. Perhaps if you're viewing the show and you know someone that would love to be encouraged in whatever they're going through, with this meeting, there was a vast amount of ages there, or was it one category? What's it about? Are you inviting everybody to come in?
Anybody.
Any story, any need?
Because everybody can benefit from a little encouragement. Doesn't make any difference what your age is. We had a couple of younger people, a couple of millenniums, and believe me, millenniums, people from about 18 to 24 or 34, believe me, they can benefit from a little encouragement because they think they know it all until they're faced with reality.
So, Ray, you're telling me they're not just senior citizens like you and I sitting here came to that meeting to find out what was going on?
Yeah.
And that's what you want. So you have no age limit on our topic.
Well, I kind of coached them because in the first part I spent about 10 minutes talking about a couple of laws we're trying to get passed.
Yes.
And I offered a free Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and a Bill of Rights, and the Ten Commandments to everybody who came. So that kind of encouraged them a little bit. But you know, in talking, 75% of all communication is verbal, talking like I'm doing right now. So let's talk about words, because we do use words in verbal communication. A careless word may kindle strife. A cruel word can wreck a life. A bitter word may hate and still, and a brutal word may smite and kill. But, a gracious word may smooth the way, a joyous word may lighten the day, a timely word may lessen stress, and a loving word may heal and bless. Which type of word will you be sharing today? You have any idea what one word can do, just like we told that lady how important she was? She hung on that word of importance. Importance. Let me give you another example how you can be an impact. I went to the grocery store a couple of weeks ago. There was a young man in there loading onions onto this big shelf. I saw him and I said, "Hey," I said, "that kind of reminds me when I was your age. I worked myself through college doing the same thing you're doing now for 52 cents an hour." He looked at me and said, 52 cents an hour? When was that? I said, about 1952, 54, when I got out of the military. He said, 52 cents an hour? I said, yeah, I'm sure you're getting more than that. Yeah, but I'm thinking about quitting because I'm in college now, and it's just such a strain, me working and trying to go to school and so forth. And I said, young man, please, for God's sake, don't give up now. You'll kick yourself for the rest of your life. This year, believe me, will pass before you know it. So you're going to have to strain a little bit. Hey, no pain, no gain, but hang in there. I promise you, I guarantee you that you will be grateful for the rest of your life. I went back a couple of weeks later. He said, Mr. Green, I thought of it. Well, as I was walking away, I heard him say, 52 cents an hour? Golly, wow. I went back a couple of weeks later and he said, Mr. Green, I've been thinking about what you said. And I guarantee you, man, when thinking about it for a couple of weeks, I'm going to stay in college. You see what happened? I had an opportunity to encourage somebody. How much did it cost? Nothing. It took a little bit of this. What is this? A couple of little chubby fingers. This is one of the greatest tools in the world, people, and you can use it at any time with anybody. It's called a little bit of extra effort. Sometimes it takes this much, but so what? It's free. And it does have wonderful results. It's up to you. The power of one. Do you realize how much power you have as one person? If one person did something, it can make a terrific impact. I've got story after story. I've got 40 years of information. Let me share just a couple of things with you about one. Way back in 1645, one person, by one vote, gave Oliver Cromwell full control of the entire nation of England. One person. In the mid-1600s, one person caused Charles I of England to be put out of control and executed. One person. In this country, one single person by one vote brought Texas into the Union. In 1868, one person by one vote saved President Andrew Johnson from impeachment. And again in 1875, one person by his vote changed France from a monarch to a republic. And Clarence Gideon in 1961, wrongfully sent to prison for a crime he did not commit without an attorney, wrote to the United States Supreme Court. To make a long story short, we now have the Miranda law as a result of one person putting out a little extra effort, and look what type of response he's gotten. So there's no limit to what you can do as one person. And I have a beautiful little story. This is a sample. I thought I had. Yeah, here it is. This is a sample of what one person can do. This is one of my favorite stories. Please listen to this. It'll take about a minute. One day a poor boy was selling goods from door to door to pay his way through school. He found that he only had a dime left to his name, and he was hungry. He decided that he was going to ask for a meal at the next house. However, he lost his nerve when a lovely young lady opened the door. Instead of a meal, he simply asked for a drink of water. Well, she thought he looked kind of hungry, so she brought him a large glass of milk. He drank it slowly and then asked, with a little gulp in his throat, how much do I owe you? Well, you don't owe me a dime, she said. Mother has taught me never to accept pay for a kindness. And he said, well, thank you very much, ma'am, from the bottom of my heart. I thank you. I'm very grateful. He left the house, not only felt stronger physically, but his faith in God and man was also strong. He had been ready to give up and quit, but that glass of milk changed his mind. Years later, that young woman became critically ill. The local doctors were baffled. They finally sent her to a big city where they called in specialists to study her rare disease. Man was called in for the consultation. When he heard the name of the town that she came from, a strange light filled his eyes. Immediately he rose and went down the hall to the hospital, to her room. Dressed in his doctor's gown, he went over to see her. He did his best to save her life, and from that day on, he gave her special attention. After a long struggle, the battle was won. The man requested the business office to pass the bill on to him for approval. He looked at it and wrote something on the edge, and the bill was sent to her room. And she was really nervous because she'd been in there for about a month or so, and she knew that that hospital bill was going to take the rest of her life to pay. She feared to open that bill, but finally she worked up enough nerve to look at it, and something on the edge of the side of the bill caught her attention. On the side of that bill were these words, "Paid in full with 1 glass of milk. Dr. Howard Kelly."
Wow. Awesome, awesome. Listen, I want to take a minute and say that from what I'm gathering, you have got so many wonderful stories that have actually made a difference in someone's life by somebody, yourself and others, reaching out. Let's go back to your meeting. We wanted Katie Anna to know that the Encouragers group meets and how often they meet and what time and where.
We meet on the first and third Saturdays of each month. As you know, Sudie, there is no ideal time, there is no ideal day for meetings. So we took what was offered. The only time we could get was Saturday afternoon from 11:30 until 1 o'clock at Thomas Park Recreation Center in Lafayette. Doesn't cost you a dime, and you'll meet some other people that are also interested in being encouraged. And they have some good stories to tell. It's not just me.
Right.
All I'm doing is sitting up there kind of conducting the meeting. But it's free, doesn't cost you a dime, so come on out the first and third Saturday. The next meeting will be on the 16th.
Of February.
Yeah, of January.
January. Oh, Lord,
Yes.
I'm a month ahead. Okay.
And
January.
we'd love to meet you, and we'd love to have your input, because you can make a big positive difference. Let me share one more story with you. How much time we got?
We've got about 5, and there's a couple of things I want to add also, so go ahead.
Let me share one more beautiful story with you. This is true. In a supermarket, the stock boy was busily working when a new voice came over the intercom asking for a carryout at check register number 4. He was almost finished. He wanted to get some fresh air, and he decided to answer the call. As he approached the checkout stand, a distant smile caught his eye. The new checkout girl was beautiful. She was a knockout. She was an older woman, maybe 26 or so, and he was only 22. But as soon as he saw her, he fell in love on the spot. Later that day, after his shift was over, he waited by the couch, by the punch-out clock, to find out her name. She came into the break room, smiled softly at him, took her card, punched it, and then left. And he looked at her. Her name was Brenda. He walked out only to see her standing by the road. Next day, he waited outside as he left the supermarket and offered her a ride. He looked harmless enough, so she accepted. When he dropped her off, maybe he asked her, "Hey, could I see you again sometime outside of work?" She said, "No, it's not possible." But he didn't give up. He pressed on and explained that she had 2 children and she couldn't possibly afford a babysitter, so he offered to pay for the babysitter. Reluctantly, she accepted his offer for a date for the following Saturday because he wouldn't give up. That Saturday night, he arrived at the door only to have her tell him that, "Sorry, I can't go with you. The babysitter canceled, so I can't go." He said, "Well, hey, let's take the kids with us." She tried to explain that taking the children was not an option, but again, he said, "Hey, I ain't giving up." Finally, Brenda brought him inside to meet her kids. She had an older daughter who was cute as a bug, and then Brenda brought out her son in a wheelchair. He was born a paraplegic with Down syndrome. He asked, "Well, I don't understand why we can't take the kids with us." So Brenda was amazed. Most people had run away. To make a long story short, this man turned out to be the one and only Kurt Warner, who, because of her encouragement, went on that year to win the Super Bowl because of a little encouragement while he was nothing more than a stock boy. Ladies and gentlemen, please make it a daily habit to offer somebody, your kids, your family, somebody, a little encouragement. It doesn't cost you a dime. And come to our meetings on the first and third Saturdays of each month at Thomas Park Recreation Center from 11:30 until 1 o'clock. And I guarantee you, you'll be refreshed, you'll be strengthened, and you'll be happy that you came.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.